everyone. Welcome to another LAWsome episode. I'm your host, Tanner Jones, along with my new co-host, Matt Smyers. We're kicking off this brand new season with Cassidy Lewis, a good friend of mine. She's a CMO for Cooper Hurley Injury Lawyers and also the owner of the CMO Academy. Today's topic, it's how to keep your law firm booked and busy. Marketing secrets from a CMO. So Cassidy, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Tanner. I just want to reiterate again that I am the first guest for this season because I'm your favorite or I'm special, however you want it to describe it.
All of the above. That's right.
Happy to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Most certainly. We're very glad to have you. And Cassidy, you know as well as I do, this has taken some time to schedule. We've talked about this for some time, and so I'm excited for our listeners on what we're going to be able to cover today. You've obviously lived in the trenches, being in marketing for a very successful injury law practice for quite some time. So you have quite unusual experiences in this world and very beneficial experiences that I know there's going to be a real treat for our listeners. But I think what would be helpful, if you don't mind, let's start with your background. Where did it all begin for you, and how did you end up in such a competitive environment like the personal injury space?
Oh my gosh. They didn't tell me, first of all. That's how they got me.
No warning.
No, I owned my own marketing firm for a bit and got tired of chasing invoices essentially and all of the other pieces. I wanted to just focus on marketing. Like if I dedicated 100% of my time to that, what would it look like? Then I interviewed with a firm and did not get the job, if you can believe that. A year later, though, that managing partner referred me to Jim Hurley, the managing partner here at Cooper Hurley. He said, hey, we interviewed this girl. She was really good. We chose someone else, but she was really good. And that was 7.5 years ago. And it's been a beautiful ride since. I love being here because I get to get my fingers in as many marketing channels that make sense for us. Not just that I want to do, but as many marketing channels that make sense to us. Outside of that, I do have my undergraduate degree in marketing and my master's in digital marketing. I keep saying I'm going to go back for something else other than marketing, but here I am.
Love the history. I know. So from that, I mean, did you always have a desire to be in marketing, or was it more of just something that kind of fell in your lap as you were going through school?
No, I was an accounting major. I'm a data dork. Like, I think numbers just make sense. And you know how you take the extra classes when you're a business major, and I took intro to marketing. And the professor was the chair of the marketing department, I believe, at the time. And he stopped me one day after class and said, you should become a marketing major. And I was like, I don't want to make commercials. That's stupid. I don't want to do that. And he was like, no, just come to some more classes. So I did. And I fell in love. I fell in love with the psychology piece. The human brain fascinates me and always has. And marketing is the psychology of the business world. And if you do it right, if you do what you're supposed to be doing, you don't lose the data piece. I've actually learned a lot about data in marketing. So I got my numbers and I got my human brain piece. And I've been in love ever since. But if you would have asked me 20 years ago, would I be in marketing? The answer would be absolutely not.
I love that, Cassidy, and I love to hear you talking about data. When I've heard you speak in the past, it's always been a big part of the conversation. I'm curious, you know, there seem to be two schools of thought when it comes to the use of data or KPI or metrics or however we want to define it in the context of marketing. But two schools of thought when it comes to managing your campaigns for a law firm and how to use data, right? One is you measure everything to the nth degree, right? And you'll be able to tell which platform, which channel, right? And with a large firm like Cooper Hurley, I'm sure that's pretty exhaustive. But, you know, that theory is you use every piece of data for every campaign, measure it to the nth degree. If something doesn't appear to be working based on that data, you cut it. If something is working, you move more budget to it. The other school of thought is much more of a holistic approach. Across the board, we have we've got a lot of things going on from a marketing standpoint, right, at any given time. And when leads and cases, are up, we're satisfied with that. And we realize that, the rising tide lifts all boats, however you want to say it, that it all plays some role. I'm curious kind of your philosophy between those two approaches.
Matt, you trying to start a fight on a podcast? If you made me choose one, I'd say I'm the latter. I believe in omnipresence. I believe in multi-channel marketing. And I believe that to be a good marketer, you have to be a patient marketer and understand that the customer journey involves so many points of interaction with your brand that it is very possible that they say TV, but the attribution says organic. There are so many points. A good example of that is TV. My TV cases they've never impressed me. We the ROI is there, but they've never impressed me. But we ran some commercial that we should not have for 3 months. And everything dropped some, TV included. On the opposite end of that, though, some of the work that I've been doing with the CMO Academy with other CMOs is that ROI there, right? Yeah. Specifically with one client I was working with, the social media intakes would come in. There was even an ROI there. However, half those cases would close within the first 3 months, right? So it's like, I want to identify the data that needs to be identified and work that. So I need most impactful data, not 1 million data points. I need most impactful data. I want to know which emails I'm getting the most unsubscribes for. I don't just want to know open rates. You know what I mean? Where are people unsubscribing? Like, I think that's sort of why there are two schools of thought, because, you have people that measure 100 things. You got people that measure 10. And it's like, I want to be in the middle at 30 or 45.
Yeah. I mean, that brings the art of it into play, right? Yeah. A lot of it is the science and the data and the numbers, but your head can swim around data that really means nothing. Right. But to your point, it's the meaningful data that matters, and the ability to identify what matters and what doesn't is the challenge. And you talked about attribution, right? When you have so many different channels going and all those touch points that you referenced, last attribution can be misleading.
It's always digital, right? It's always digital. It makes you guys look good over there at Consult Web.
At times. It does.
Yeah. No, but it's always digital for last touch. I'm much more most impactful. Where did you remember? What did you remember? And I have people not, they wasted my $400. They'll call my Google LSA, but they're a former client, or they were referred by a best friend, but they still search injury lawyer near me to see my LSA pop up. Right. So the attribution conversation amongst marketers is a sticky one.
Yep. And with that backdrop and knowing that all marketing budgets are not created equal, right? And so some of your smaller to mid-sized firms, when they're trying to figure out, what data to look at, what matters, and then how to allocate resources there, what advice do you have on how to align expectations that are dependent upon budget, knowing that budgets are not unlimited for most of the firms out there?
Yeah, that's a good one. So much of budget allocation goes to the personality or the culture of the firm, though, too. And I say that because if I had to ship everything, I would stick with digital and referral marketing, right? Which referral marketing includes the client services piece, the marketing post, just all of the ambassador programs or the VIP programs. But if you don't have the manpower to do that, well, then let's invest more into digital. So I say that to say, like, it really does depend on the culture, but I'm always going to say digital referrals. One thing that I've stepped back on years ago, I would tell someone community marketing should be last. Like, if you had to do a budget pyramid, community marketing should be last, right? The sponsorships, the giveaways, or whatever it is. I don't think I believe that anymore. And it's because I believe that real community marketing is our only defense against these venture capitalist owned law firms or these big shops coming into our arenas.
Yeah.
You are going to know me because you saw me at your kid's baseball game and are more likely to go with me, to hire me, right? I can't outspend you know who on billboards. I can't outspend you know who on TV. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
That's right.
So, I'm probably recorded somewhere, given sort of that pyramid and listing community as last. But I think that it's becoming much more important, and what that looks like. It doesn't have to be a big budget to have a big splash. You just have to do it right. You got to market it right.
That's an incredible take, and I think that's great to point out that is a defense against larger budgets. That's a difficult thing for a venture capital style group to come in and replicate because they don't have the community connection and the involvement there. So that's outstanding. And you mentioned first about going to digital, and that was for the longest time. Digital was seen as the ability to level the playing field against larger spenders and competitors. So that's a fascinating take. Bigger picture question: what are some of the mistakes that you see firms making over and over again when it comes to their marketing?
Lack of budget or lack of consistent budget. Oh yeah, you can spend $10,000 this month, $5,000 next, $22,000 month after that. Lack of budget overall. I think hiring a new marketer to lead the marketing department by themselves is the big one, right? So I'm fresh out of college, I'm the CMO, and it's because I'm the first hire. That's sticky. That's very, very, very sticky. Not anything against the marketer, but I learn stuff every day, and I've been marketing for 15, 16 years. And then last but not least, a lack of a true relationship between marketing and intake. I manage intake here at Cooper Hurley Injury Lawyers, and it's okay if the CMO or the marketing director does not, but they need to be meeting weekly. They need to be, hey, look, this is what I'm saying out on TV or on the website. I need you to repeat that language. I need you to reaffirm that language when you're on the phone call with them. And then I need to do the drip campaign, and then you need to tell me what's working so that I can put that into the TVs and I can put that onto the website. It should be very circular.
Yeah.
And I don't see enough of them working together.
That's an excellent point. I mean, that cohesiveness in messaging, right? It's very easy to get lost when you're experimenting with different ad copy and messaging, et cetera. And what they see on an ad, may be completely different than what they experience when they call it. And you need that to be cohesive. That's an excellent point. Yeah.
I'm interested in those conversations, Cassidy, with intake in particular. Are you looking at a specific scorecard? What's driving those conversations? How have you found healthy alignment with those dialogues?
The personality of most intake people, they're not data driven. For the ones that I know, they are very, this is what I saw, let me tell you about it. And so I have to remember that when I go into those conversations, because this is your report card, right? So this is how many, we call them green intakes, cases that we want. This is how many you converted. This is how many we signed up. This is how many were unsuccessful. But I have to go in and talk to them and say, hey, look, I can do it one or two ways. This is the drip campaign that I created. What are your thoughts? And they mark it up. And I said, well, why? Well, because when I'm talking to people and they're dealing with X, they need me to be more informational. When I'm dealing with Y, I need to be more empathetic. And that's more of a field conversation. I'm like, oh, really? Because I've taken, a dozen intakes in my life, if that. So when I'm talking to them, it is less data and more tell me about your experiences and why this makes sense. And then those conversations are happening weekly. Do you agree with this change that I'm about to make? Does that make sense for the department? Yes, no, in between. Okay, got it.
I think that point is so important, and I would encourage listeners not to allow that to get lost, because I think a lot of our listeners, while we do have a lot of marketing directors, CMOs, that are helping to drive marketing at law firms, we also have a lot of practitioners, active lawyers who are driving marketing decisions, and candidly, very few are actually having those weekly conversations and intake. And being able to find alignment, learn what they're hearing on the front lines, how they're addressing common questions, concerns, can shape marketing so much. I don't know if there's anything in particular you've learned in that experience, or maybe some pains you've avoided in that process, but I'd love to hear that, Cassidy.
I was here for a little bit before I did the FAQs. Like, write down the frequently asked questions that you all get. And it was some things that I felt like I did a good job in marketing. But you said, sometimes when you sit down with intake, it will humble you. So I think doing that exercise, also learning and appreciating follow-up. They know clients better than anybody. They talk to clients or potential new clients more than anybody else, like quantity-wise.
Sure.
More than anybody else in the firm. And so where I've studied a lot of product follow-up campaigns, they are every day, multiple times a day, and this and that. But no, we're a law firm, and we are a service-based industry, and that looks a lot different. The intake has different expectations for us. So there's been too much that I've learned from intake that I thought I knew, but they're just an extremely insightful group within your law firm that you have to be intentional about when having conversations with.
I mean, you mentioned in the beginning of the call how data driven you are, and that's a huge piece of data in every law practice.
Yeah.
Where you can go and get tremendous insight. So that's a great point. I'd like to pivot the conversation and cover some different channels of marketing. You talked about digital clearly being a key prioritized channel for driving cases for a law firm, and naturally within digital it's fragmented. You have search engine optimization, paid advertising, local services ads, social media, and the list goes on and on. But clearly, that is a great place to have a presence. You also mentioned referral marketing. And I love that you mentioned that. I find that there has been quite a bit of evolution in the whole concept of the referral aspect of business. Today, I'm seeing that, if you rewind 10 plus years ago, a lot of law firms were seeing digital as that next step. It's like, I've built my practice, 80% of my business comes through referrals. I want to start being more intentional about going and getting my cases myself, or quote unquote clean cases. And now I'm actually starting to see firms coming back and saying, I've actually let my referrals slip. I haven't put a whole lot of attention or energy into referrals, and I'm feeling that now. Digital's working, referrals are slipping. What's your overall take? What's the balance in those two? And specifically, what would you recommend firms do for referral marketing where they can be proactive from day to day?
Tanner, we don't have enough time, but I'll give you what I got. You're right. There has been this shift in let's go digital. I personally want my cost per case down, and that's going to come through referral marketing. My digital leads are 700. My referral leads are 300 and 400, right? Simple math. Like I want to focus there. And I think if you ever sat down and did the math, you'd want to focus your efforts there too. You combine that with the realization that as hard as we work, we will never own our digital traffic. Like we won't. February was not great for digital leads. Google did a map zoom in, and now we're coming back because you guys know we're in a court date. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. We don't control social media follows. You could get suspended tomorrow and not do anything wrong. So your database and your referral marketing, in my humble opinion, it's the most important marketing channel that you have because you have the most control over it. I just posted this on LinkedIn like an hour ago. Year to date, over 60% of our cases are from referrals. This is attorneys, employees, people that are not even listed in our database. And that doesn't come overnight. When I got here, I think that number was about 14% of our cases were referred by somebody in our database. I think that number's right. So just working at putting that number up as often as possible. Digital's still doing well, right? Like March, we're having a great month. And so I think that you have to do two things when it comes to your referral marketing. It's one, fill your database with as many people as possible. Connect with as many people as possible. So go to the community events and give away a TV. Yes, you can afford a $600 TV because you want people to give you their name, phone number, email, and address, possibly, and put it in fishbowl put that back in your database. Do the same thing with social media. So fill your database, but then once you get them in there, you have to stay top of mind. You have to. So you have to obsess over email marketing. Use subjectline.com to make sure that your subject lines work. Make sure that your information within your email, people actually want to read. Go against the grain. Send something in the physical mail. Maybe you can't do everybody at once, but, split it up by city and then personalize it to that city and say, hey, Chesapeake neighbors, last year we did this one. We sent it to just Chesapeake, I think specific zip codes in Chesapeake. Hey, y'all, last year over 704 Chesapeake neighbors referred us a case. Just go with that. Like, go into your database and segment it. Do the attorney referral events. Well, do the attorney events to get referrals. Go to the state bar and your local bar and, stay for the cocktail hour. Host a CLE. Like, really be intentional about segmenting your database and connecting with them at the level that they should be connected at. Have that friends and family party. Create ambassadors. Call them ambassadors. Have them, all the things. Tanner, why would you ask me that?
Yeah. I hope our listeners have the pen and paper there.
And I would think, Cassidy, that a large part of that success has to do with the client experience from the get-go, right? Which from a marketing standpoint is largely out of your control.
No, I believe, well, and you're right. So let me back up. You're right, because I'm not the one talking to clients every day, right? But the director of client services is within marketing.
And it's a lot. As you said earlier, there's that alignment.
It has to be. I used to work at a Fortune 500 financial company, and my title was Director of Marketing and Client Services. Different business model, but what can I do in mass? What experience can I give every single solitary client that walks through my door? And then once they become a former client, right, what can I give every single former client that's walked through my door? And then once they're a former client and they've referred 2 cases, what experience can I give every former client that's referred 2 cases? And so I remember, I probably shouldn't say this, but it's funny. We got a bad review one day, and I think it was 3 stars. And the person said, I'm giving it 3 stars. I didn't like such and such, but they sent me gifts all the time, and I love those gifts. Go marketing. What happened? But even in that, for client services, for us, for marketing, how are we teaching our legal teams to speak to clients? We're teaching them to, hey, use this language that was used in the TV ads, that was used in intake. Use it when they're a client, right? Are you getting what we call a golden nugget? Like, are you getting a nugget about them, right? I, in my budget, in the marketing budget, have a line item for gifts for clients. My legal team knows, hey, if a client has something good happen, right? Daughter got accepted into college. The client has something bad happen. There's a passing. Client had a rough day at physical therapy. All they have to do is send us an email. Hey, marketing, this happened. Can you send a gift? And it's handled. It's done. Yeah. Works a lot easier when that nugget is filled out, right? Oh, they're a Cowboys fan or something like that. But so, yeah, you're right, Matt. 1-to-1, no, I can't control that. But in mass, that's marketing all day.
And that cohesion that you talked about between departments, and really what we're talking about now is brand, right? That's a brand. You're having a consistent experience from that person from the time they see your ad, from the time they call, they become a client, after they're a client, etc.
Your brand is, people say it's your reputation, and that's fine, but it's also how you make your clients feel, how people feel when they see you, when they see your logo, right? How does it make them feel? Does it make them feel like, even if they weren't a client, they're the nicest, most giving, the best people I've ever met at the community event? That's what my brand is.
And a consistent experience. Yeah, I love hearing you say that you're working with even with your case managers on language, right? So that it's consistent throughout the entire experience. That way, if they do switch case managers or deal with anybody else in the firm, they're going to get the same exact experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this stuff.
Cassidy, we've covered a lot of topics with you. I'm curious. I know on the CMO Academy website, and how you're providing a ton of good, valuable information to the legal community and marketers alike. You mention or talk about the concept of co-marketing strategies, basically coordinating marketing, or at least the way I understand it, coordinating marketing with complementary businesses or non-competing businesses in a market area or industry. I'm intrigued by that. What have you seen? What have you experienced in relation to co-marketing?
We have to do better than just be the best law firm in our area. We have to be the best business in our area, in our regions, right? And that comes with a lot of partnerships. So we love to say, this is the ice cream shop that's 2 miles from our office. It's our favorite ice cream shop. How do we partner? How do I put you on my platform? And, oh, you would love to put me on your platform too? That's a surprise. But you build these ambassadors in the community. When I was talking about, it doesn't have to be a $1 million. Like our community marketing budget is large, right? But when we started our flagship campaign, Vote for a Cause, it was to highlight and to magnify other nonprofits. And we would get they would get people to vote for these nonprofits in the area. We gave, first place got $1,000. Now it's about to start in a few weeks. First place gets 10,000, right? Because we've seen how well that it does throughout the years. But how do I connect with these other organizations in my area? We don't have any big sports. We don't have any big schools. We got minor league baseball. Okay, well, let's, right now, I think it's still going on. My team would be mad at me. But the Tides, a minor league baseball game. We're a sponsor, so we give away tickets and Tides gear, and then they get excited and they put us in their email. And we have to just get out of this headspace of we're going to be the best injury firm in Hampton Roads. No, we're going to be the best business. We're going to be the best company out here. We're going to be known, yes, for injury law, but as the most giving firm here in Hampton Roads.
It's powerful. Yeah, there's so much branding value in that, and a lot of what we've talked about, hopefully listeners are seeing how this all works together. There's synergy in this, and naturally supporting another local business and then reciprocating and branding you or supporting your business helps to create more knownness in the marketplace. And it comes back to when you're battling that 900-pound giant in the marketplace with an endless marketing budget, the real differentiator is your knownness, your authenticity in the marketplace, and how much people truly resonate with the brand. And those are the necessary ingredients in order to support that. So that's such a valuable reminder for all of us. Cassidy, I'd like to kind of land the plane here. I'm curious, since we've covered so many wide-ranging topics, were there any questions that you would have hoped we would have asked that we didn't cover?
You can... Shameless plugs. You can ask me what the CMO Academy does, and then you can ask me where your listeners should send all of their Virginia injury referrals.
Great. Those are good. Two great questions. So why don't you go ahead and tee that up, Matt?
Yeah, let's start with the second.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Where should Virginians send all of their personal injury referrals?
Yeah, so again, I work at Cooper Hurley Injury Lawyer. So if you ever have any national railroad intake or case, give us a call. And then, yeah, if you are out of state or even within Virginia and you're listening and you want someplace to send your injury referrals, send them to Cooper Hurley Injury Lawyers.
Now let's turn the corner on the CMO Academy, because this is an exciting platform you've just released. Who is it helping? How does it help?
The CMO Academy is a coaching program for legal marketing staff members. I've always coached and mentored. I've just added some structure around it. So I'm very, very, very excited. People have been asking me to do something like this for years. And I was like, no, I'm busy. But I am finally doing it. So me and the legal staff member sit down every month and we go over strategy, tactics, and KPIs. A lot of times people focus on the tactics and the KPIs, the how and what numbers, and we should focus more on the why, the strategy. If we understand the why, the hows will come. You know what I mean? They'll be there. I'm very, very excited about it. We've been doing very well so far. And then soon, probably by the time this podcast is released, the video course will be available. So instead of sitting down with me one-on-one, you just have a video course and it's on demand. You watch it when you want to.
Nice. I encourage you all to take advantage of that. We'll have this in the show notes, so you can click into it, but it's the CMOacademy.com, the CMOacademy.com. You can check out what classes are offered there, and stay tuned. It sounds like lots more content will be added over time. I also want to make mention, Cassidy, I've heard you speak at a number of events. I've known you for a number of years. You're always so delightful. You bring a lot of energy, but more importantly, you bring a ton of valuable in the trenches information for law firms across the country. You and I will actually be joining one another to speak at the PILMA Summit, PILMA Super Summit, happening in April 29th through early May. It's going to be in Denver, Colorado. So for those listening, if you haven't registered for that event, I encourage you to do so as soon as possible. You can register at pilma.org. Cassidy's going to be speaking around ROI, I believe, the ROI reality check, prioritizing profit over calls. And I'll be talking about accountability in your legal marketing partnerships. So we hope to see you there. Cassidy, what are other ways, any other way that you would ask listeners to find you online?
Sure. LinkedIn. Come listen to me ramble about all things marketing. Just find me on LinkedIn at Cassidy Lewis.
Perfect. Cassidy, we appreciate you so much. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.